3,000 years, one civilization basically dominated the ancient world. They built monuments so massive, so grand, that we're still scratching our heads about them today. But this empire, well, it wasn't just built on war and conquest. No, it rose from the banks of a single powerful river. So today, we're diving into how ancient Egypt managed to turn desert sand into a kingdom that would become legendary. I mean, think about it for a second. How does a civilization not only survive but thrive in one of the driest places on Earth, and then go on to build a legacy that lasts for millennia? It's a huge question, right? That's the puzzle we're going to piece together today. And you might be surprised to learn that the first piece isn't a pharaoh or a great battle. It's a river. You know, every great story has a main character, and for the story of ancient Egypt, that character is, without a doubt, the Nile. It wasn't just some river providing a bit of water in a desert. Oh no, it was the architect. It was their calendar. It was a god. It shaped their entire world from the ground up. Now, for most of us, a flood is a total catastrophe, right? But for the Egyptians, it was a gift. Every single year, like clockwork, the Nile would overflow its banks. And when the water pulled back, it left behind this layer of rich, black, incredibly fertile soil. They actually called their country Kemet, which means the Black Land. It was this predictable, yearly miracle that let them grow all the food they needed right in the middle of a sea of sand. But this foundation wasn't built overnight, not even close. If you look at this timeline, you can see just how slow this process was. We're talking nearly 3,000 years. That's longer than the entire Roman Empire existed. For all that time, you just had these small communities scattered along the Nile, slowly learning to farm, making pottery, and bit by bit, building the foundation for the powerhouse that was about to come. Okay, so the river provided the basis for life. That's step one. But a bunch of farming villages doesn't make an empire. The next huge step was political, taking all these separate little communities and forging them into one single powerful kingdom. See, before there was one Egypt, there were actually two. You had Upper Egypt, which was this long, skinny river valley down in the south. And then you had Lower Egypt, which was the big, marshy delta up north where the river meets the sea. And they were totally different. They had different crowns, worshipped different gods, and were led by different rulers. They were basically rivals, two separate cultures living along the same life-giving river. And then, just like that, everything changed. Around 3150 BCE, a really powerful king from the south, a guy by the name of Narmer, marched his armies north. He conquered Lower Egypt and for the very first time in history, brought the two lands together under a single crown. This was so much more than just a military victory. This was the moment Egypt as we know it was truly born. The age of the pharaohs had officially begun. So uniting a kingdom is one thing, but holding it together for 3,000 years, that's a whole other challenge. Now that Egypt was one, its new rulers had to build, well, the software for their new society, the systems of government, belief, and communication that would become the backbone of their entire empire. The early pharaohs basically built their state on three massive pillars. First up, you've got a centralized government to organize everything, from collecting taxes and storing grain to managing huge building projects. Second, a shared religion that gave everybody a common identity and a sense of purpose. And third, a game-changing technology, hieroglyphic writing. With it, they could suddenly track everything, send commands across the kingdom, and literally write their own history into stone. And right at the heart of their whole worldview was this concept called Ma'at. You can think of it as balance, order, and truth, the way the universe was supposed to be. You know, that predictable, life-giving flood of the Nile? That was Ma'at in action. The pharaoh's single most important job wasn't to conquer new lands, but to maintain this divine order right here on Earth, making sure the kingdom was stable and prosperous. So, with this incredibly stable society, a powerful government, and a divine mission from the gods, the Egyptians were ready to do something truly spectacular. They were ready to build for eternity itself. This is where we enter the legendary age of the pyramids. The pyramids didn't just pop up out of the sand. They evolved. Royal tombs started out as these pretty simple structures, but then an absolute genius of an architect named Imhotep had this revolutionary idea for his king Djoser. He thought, what if we stack these tombs on top of each other? The result was the Step Pyramid, the world's very first massive stone building. This incredible leap in engineering basically kicked the door wide open for the ultimate symbols of power, the Great Pyramids at Giza. But here's the thing. These pyramids weren't built by magic. They were built with essentially spreadsheets and incredible organization. A project this huge required a perfectly run state. You needed farmers growing tons of extra food to feed all the workers, scribes keeping track of every single block of stone, and officials managing a construction project that would last for decades. The pyramids aren't just tombs, they're the ultimate proof of a super efficient, highly organized society firing on all cylinders. These incredible monuments really cemented a legacy that would go on to outlast almost any other ancient civilization. So let's take a look at how this kingdom managed to stick around for so long. But look, no empire lasts forever without hitting some bumps in the road. As you can see here, Egyptian history wasn't just one long straight line of success. It was a cycle. You had these golden ages, like the old, middle, and new kingdoms. But then they would give way to what historians call intermediate periods. These were times of civil war, bad famines, or even foreign invasions. But what makes Egypt so amazing is its resilience. Time and time again, the kingdom would fall apart, only to be reborn, reunited, and often come back stronger than ever before. So, what's the ultimate lesson from their incredible story? I think it's this. Ancient Egypt stands as a testament to humanity's ability to shape history and leave a legacy that endures for thousands of years. They took a harsh desert and a predictable river, and through sheer belief and organization, they built an empire for eternity. Egypt's story of innovation, unity, and just pure resilience really provides a kind of blueprint for endurance. And it leaves us with a really fundamental question. In our own time, what are we building today that will echo for millennia to come?